You're listening to the Cap Stable Podcast, the official podcast of the Brave Collective and the Hero Coalition.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, my name is Zora, and welcome to the Cap Stable Podcast. Now with more boom. Let's get this tutorial started. Woohoo!
Hello and welcome to the Cap Stable Podcast, episode 58, recorded November 11th, 2014. I'm your host, Super Genius, and together with my co-host, we cover all the news of EVE Online. Joining me tonight, we have Bach. Bach, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Great week, great time on EVE.
Great to hear it. And also joining us this evening, we have Kuda. Kuda, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Lank. How are you doing? Are you recovered from BlizzCon?
I am thrashed, utterly and just morally thrashed. Besides that, I had a fantastic time.
All right, well, I'll give you a moment to compose yourself. We'll let you go last on explaining yourself before I go, and we'll let Bach start us off. So, Bach, what the heck have you been up to in the world of EVE?
So this week was a very busy week. We had two big defense fleets against PL in U-Q and B-3. It was good fights, a lot of fun. Everybody had fun on both parties, except until the super showed up and basically ruined everybody's day. And we'll talk about it later. And I also tried the new Phoebe changes on exploration. So my summary is the relic sites have been nerfed hard. There's no more cans and no more containers above 30 million. We used to have containers around 60 to 90 millions once in a while. Every 10, 15 sites, there's not a single one anymore. So big nerf on the relic sites. And the data sites, they've been buffed. Stuff drops, but they have not been buffed enough. There's way too much crap that has no value in the market. And my question to CCP is all that high-tech stuff that drops, that has no value, it's your future for research and development, as we were talking in last show? I hope so. Otherwise, it's useless crap. We're also preparing 3 super secret missions. And spoiler alert, we're going to create 2 diplomatic incidents before the end of the show. So stay tuned. This is AIE News. I'm also working on new spreadsheets, but it slowed down a lot. Especially that I finally got our siphon detector to run, and it's giving good values. So yes, good directors, we all know that you are lying in Vegas. You can detect siphon detectors. If I can do it, you can do it. It also detects all the bad truckers that forget to service the towers when they're told to do so, or forget to re-online the containers. Bad boys. It's also crap interface and re-onlining and offlining all those modules continuously. You forget some. Otherwise, in the industry side, I've been building a lot of bombers and a lot of dictors and a few exploration freaks. So the first 2, they're going to make catch more fun, I'm pretty sure. And rest is trucking. And I've been using the jump bridges, even with the new job changes and fatigue. It's working great. No issue with any type of fatigue if you're using trucking ships. It's pretty great. And except that I've been asked by the rest of the crew to do some baking, to wear my beret, and take pictures with the Eiffel Tower. Sorry, I didn't have a strip photo. And I'm eating bread and cheese, drinking a glass of wine. Just to fulfill all the stereotypes within a single podcast.
What color wine?
Red.
I'm just making sure.
I prefer rosé, but you cannot find rosé in US.
You are wrong. Wrong. Just say no to pink wine.
It's not pink, it's rosé.
Ugh.
All right, and also, all right, Lank, what's up with you? You kind of threw me off at the rosé stuff.
It's
Lank, what is up
Kuda's
with you?
next. Kuda's next. I'm next. Yeah, I'm after Kuda.
Fine.
Yeah, you told Lank you're saving him for last.
Fine. Kuda,
All right.
what have you been up to?
I'm here. I've been playing EVE. I haven't been doing podcasts. I've been busy, but life is good, work is good, Eve is good. Been doing we've had anomalies popping all the time in Eve. Been reading about different things at work, playing a little bit of mining here and there. But there's a lot of content going on as far as like with Eve Vegas and all the new release cycle. I'm really digging it. I'm having a lot of fun. But feeling a little buried, just trying to keep up with everything all the time. The 7.0 show is awesome. That's not 7.0. I'm sorry. The 07 show. That's a slip. It's
7.0
awesome.
show of our hearts.
Exactly. It's awesome. I've been able to check that out. As always, CP's doing a great job with production quality. Other than that, in game, I've kind of turned into a pirate. We've been having a lot of fun throwing out pings, finding ships in our little systems that think they can mine there, or been blowing them up. It doesn't make any money. It's kind of expensive to just fund a lot of catalysts and whatnot. But I think if you get to doing it for a while and move on to some bigger ships, maybe freighters, something like that, you can make some more money. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But there's a lot of money to be made if somebody slips some nanofiber ribbon thingies in their hold when they could have carried them in a cloaky hauler. Anyways, CCP gods, they hate me right now. I am in the process of training Sino 5 on my main and JDC 5 on my alt. I think the JDC 5 is a 40-day train, 39-day train, and that's with implants or something. But we'll get through it. Me and the boys will be okay. But it's been tough, and I'm looking forward to training something that's fast that I can shoot with. Anyways, that's about it.
What, you mean you're not looking forward to jump fatigue?
I don't want to fly capitals, kind of, not really at all. I always want to stay sub-cap. I want to fly recon ships and bombers, and so I'm just kind of doing it. I'm looking forward to Sino 5. I want to be able to light covert Sinos. That's kind of exciting. That's more exciting than JDC 5 on an alt.
So, as promised,
Anyways,
Lank
Theris.
Little did they know that the real reason why I wanted to go Kuda first is, because the horrible headache, the hangover that I've had. But anyway, beside the point, let's get back to the business. So what have I been doing in Eve? Just moving a ton of my crap around and being really, really social, affable even to the new corporate recruits. I have attempted to read all the CSM-9 Summer Summit minutes, and I have failed miserably because you people, evidently you have like diarrhea of the fingers, so much to read. Reading is hard. Thanks to Phoebe and my brand new skill queue, I now have a 562-day training regimen. I'll never have to touch that for another year and a half unless they change doctrines again, and then I'm screwed and have to go redo the whole thing. I also
You
now
can count
have
on that.
You can count on that, absolutely. So after I went through all that meticulous like planning and training and hours of spreadsheets, sigh. I now have a doctrine space tater, people, a Dominix, and you know what? I despise the Dominix. Oh,
It's really ugly.
I know like Hoots loves it and Stu likes
Space
it.
potato.
Worst potato. And I hate looking at the ass end of that ship. I really so do. It's like, oh,
It's so slim and skinny.
I want it to get blown up. Let's just say that's how much I hate it. So like next time I'm just going to ignore like the calls to anchor up, and you just kind of go wandering into the carrier like blob and get blown because I just hate the ship. And like I said, recovering from the another video game convention. So that's that, and keeping up with all the PL shenanigans and all.
Was that
back
your
channels.
liver you just coughed up?
That was my pancreas. My pancreas just forcefully ejected itself out of my left nostril.
I was just going to assume that was the remainder of his liver trying to escape.
You learn something in your late 30s in that you can't drink like you were in your 20s again. I mean, I can physically hold and drink that much alcohol and make younger men like fall down and quiver and shake as you go into like alcohol related like deathly fits. However,
That's kind of mean.
However, I can no longer recuperate the next day. It is taking me like almost like it's going to probably take me an entire week. My voice is shot. I'm all rickety, just falling apart here. But I go ahead and move on to better things. So, Stu, what have you been doing?
Well, nothing at all, really. I mean, there was no major updates that would affect me in any way. I don't fly, a jump freighter per se or a carrier. No. All right. So first off, as you guys have been saying, I did dive into some of the CSM minutes. We'll get into that in a bit. But more so to the point, the night before Phoebe, excuse me, let me back up. It was the night before Phoebe, and Stu was stirring until almost 5 a.m. All right, so the night before Phoebe, as I'm sure many people in Eve were up to, I was trying to get some last minute things moved, and I procrastinated a little bit, moving some Alliance stuff, some Corp stuff, as well as we had some last minute plans that had taken place that I literally couldn't do anything, act on them until that time as things didn't get moved and so forth. So finally things got moved and I was able to get some stuff moved around. So as part of that, I made 3 jump freighter load jumps from high sec to null. I made, as well as that night, as the notification was going up saying, hey, the servers are going to go down in a half hour. Or sorry, no, the way they do it is they notify you of the notification. So they notify you half an hour before the hour warning or something weird like that. For people who, I'm sure the Australians probably know because they always see it, but it's a weird thing where they notify you before it's really time. So you really get like an hour and a half warning or something. But anyway, so I saw the warning, and I was asking Turbo to light a sign-up for me so I can get some ships moved. So just before the Phoebe went down, and not right before, but I'd say within the hour that the Tranquility went down to release Phoebe, I moved my carrier to pick up about a carrier and a half of bombers and a blops for moving for Lank, as well as moving some other Corp assets and ships. And so that was the last time I jumped my carrier before Phoebe. And it also happened to be taking full advantage of the carrier's JDC5 14.25 or 125 light year jump range pre-Phoebe. And so I was taking full advantage of that. I was making a route that would be completely different and loaded with jump fatigue if I took it now. So rest in peace, suitcase carrier. But that was fun, and I just had a blast doing that. Also, there's some more moving stuff on the horizon for me, as one would suspect. But I'm not going to let that slip now. You have to listen a little bit later in the show to hear what I'll be up to. With that, it's been 7 days since I moved Moongoo, and it's kind of amazing. And yesterday, as PL was attempting to do nefarious things, and we'll get into that a little bit later and all exactly what they were doing, I got a ping that said bubbles, 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 everybody in the fleet, and something like that effect. And I logged in and flew over as quick as I could in my interdictor and went in and was able to successfully prevent, I'll keep this vague, successfully prevent PL from doing naughty things. And with that, I think we'll move into our community news section. So we have a couple things this week. Kind of really dove into it. The first one's coming right up. So if you're listening to this, hopefully you already know about it because it is this coming weekend. Saturday, November 15th at 1900 is going to be at the Accent Lounge. It's in Edmonton. Can't speak, which I assume is Canada. And that's happening. It's a real life meetup. Also, we have, of course, as we've been talking about, Eve Down Under. If you're anywhere in the southern hemisphere or, the northern hemisphere, I guess, depending on your point of reference, then Eve Down Under in Sydney, November 21st to the 23rd. Check that out. I think tickets are still available, and you'll be able to check out talk to a number of the CCP devs. I think last I heard was Mimic, and then a few others might be making the trek down there. Finally, that same weekend, Saturday, November 22nd, on the other side of the globe, all the way up in Boston, we have the Boston meetup, which is happening at 2:00 to whenever anybody leaves. And that's at JJ Foley's Cafe and Bar. And apparently that's the South Boston location. I'm not familiar with that. But if you're in the area, definitely check that out. I think the last one I heard that there was some prizes generously gifted by EveBet that I think is like 5plex. So if you're in the area, definitely check that out. And next up, our Eve tip or tool of the week. And this week, I'm going to put in there fleetup.com, and fleetup, FLEET-UP.com. I don't know, words are hard. Anyways, look it up. They recently had a data outage where they lost all their data due to some mix-ups, but it's a cool feature, or it's a cool tool. Len can attest to this probably better than I can.
It is a fantastic tool.
It's a fantastic tool that crashed and lost everything. So I'm going to give them 3 stars.
I give them 3.5 stars. 3.5 stars. But it was really great because you see, one of the reasons I love the Fleet Up is because I can keep track of you losers to find out which doctrine ships you can fly. So I can wave my hand menacingly and say, "Why you no fly the ship? Why you so bad?" But
yeah, and so it is a paid for service in most cases. There's I think a very, very tiny plan that you can get away with doing it free. But if you have any substantial size group of like 15 or more pilots, it gets a slight cost to it, depending. And the cost is in ISK, just to be clear. There's no real world money. You pay the corp in game, you get a certain amount of months based off how much ISK you give them. It's a pretty cool thing. As Lank was talking about, there's a ton of cool features to it. Some of the features at the corp or alliance level allow you to dig in to see how many pilots can fly a particular doctrine ship, or how many pilots can fly at bare minimum skills, okay skills, and then like perfect skills or really good skills. And so you have that kind of granularity. I can't even speak tonight. To kind of look at all that, and you also get to go in there and specify skill. So you get to see skill requirements. So if you're a pilot, you can go in there and see all the fittings. You can get them in EFT or any of the export functionality, and kind of dig in to see how all that works. And so it's a really cool tool. Unfortunately, like we said, it had some hiccups late in like mid-October, and so it lost everybody's data. And Lake, I think, is still trying to recover all of those fits. But I think with that, we'll go ahead and head into the news.
Actually, what are you guys drinking? Do we do that anymore?
Not really, because I'm drinking water. But what are you guys drinking?
I'm boring. I'm drinking water. I had a Miller Lite earlier, but that was it.
Shame on you. You'll never be French.
Yeah, no red wine or rosé.
What? Wait, okay. So is he never going to be French because he's drinking water, or because he's drinking Miller Lite?
Miller Lite. Water is okay. We have mineral water. It's pretty nice, but Miller Lite, no thanks.
All right, what are you drinking over there, Bach?
We've already told it 5 times.
I didn't hear you. Rosé? Okay, I didn't catch that. I thought you were just commenting the fact that the rosé. I didn't realize you were actually referencing the fact that you're drinking it.
I wish I would be drinking rosé. I'm drinking red only.
Okay, so, and finally, Lank, I'm going to assume you're probably not drinking after the weekend you just had, but you may surprise me.
I'm drinking water. I am drinking water because I've just, oh God, I
will point out,
what?
Red's Ale, totally getting advertising locally on the radio. Just putting it out.
Stu, you're dead to me.
You're from the South, to me. So there's lots of shit that gets by down there.
All right, with that, we'll go ahead and head into the news.
Warning, warning, warning. This is important. This is the news. It is super important. Or at least dramatic.
And I went to get a piece of paper so I could write down the time so I knew where to edit. So 1 sec. All right, now that I have that piece of paper here. 3, 2. All right, so first off, we're going to talk a little bit about the 07 show, or as I'm going to be calling it from now on, the 70 show. The second episode came right on the heels of Phoebe, and it had some pretty interesting things. The biggest thing in it, and I'm probably going to ask one of you guys to help me with the pronunciation on this. Is it Thera?
You got it right the first time. Congratulations, Stu.
All right, so one of the big announcements in the latest 07 or 70 show that was hosted by CCP Mimic. CCP Fozzie came on the show, and there was a little back and forth. We were talking, and he let us know about the plans that they have for the latest features coming into Rhea, and the new one is called Thera, and that is going to be a wormhole system, but it's going to have NPC stations. It's going to be massive on a scale that none other system in the game has been. It's to the point that you, in theory, shouldn't be able to control the entire system. Like, you shouldn't be able to camp all the wormholes and so forth. It just should be so massive that you will have difficulty doing that. It is still going to be a wormhole, so you're going to have no local, but you're going to have revolving connections to K-space with, static, but there's going to be no static connections to wormhole space. But there will be random like wandering holes to wormhole space. So you'll get some fights there. The biggest thing though is there's no capitals, no star bases. So it's going to keep kind of stuff interesting. One thing I did want to expand a little bit on, and they kind of glossed over it, but Thera is kind of like the Jita of Null / wormhole. It's going to be kind of this dark, greasy place. It's full of scum and villainy, and kind of CCP Rise kind of coined it as saying the Mos Eisley. I hope I pronounced that correctly, of Eve. Because I know people don't steal my.
You're 2 for
card.
2, Stu. 2 for 2.
And so it should be. All right, so it should be pretty interesting. This is the one thing I wanted to mention, though, is that this is going to be like the main system, but there's going to be a whole group of these systems, and it's not just one system called Thera. I think the main one, is my understanding, is going to be called Thera, and there's going to be similar things. As far as I know, they're not going to be named. They're just going to have like crazy J codes or something like that. But they will have similar things to it. They'll have similar attributes. Is the way I understood Fozzie to speak. It's been a couple of days since I watched the 07 show, so it might change a little bit in my recollection of it. But this kind of introduces a new kind of place for pilots to go and fill up markets and everything. I mean, because they expect people to live out of there, be able to put things on the market and make a Jita-esque market. Obviously, probably not to the volume of Jita, just because of the inherent risks of moving stuff there. But in general, it sounds like it's going to be a pretty interesting time of somewhere between wormholes and nullsec somewhere between wormholes and lowsec and nullsec, some kind of like Wolonolosec, if you want to combine all of them in a terrible pronunciation that I just made up. So what do you guys kind of think of this? Do you think it's good to kind of help fix the stagnation in null that CCP has been trying to get rid of, or what? I guess I'll ask Bach first.
So it's good and bad. It's good because it gives something totally different, and that's good. And sincerely, if we ever get kicked out of catch and would simply leave catch, we should totally go to Terra. 12,000 brave newbies in Terra would be a lot of fun. Dunking everywhere and crapping out with well fleets would be gigantic. And other than that, not sure it's going to be that great if it doesn't have that many links to wormholes. So it's going to be on and off. But on a side note, there's some tinfoiling going on about that system, because in the database there's 6 system IDs which are missing. So it looks like there's 6 systems which are kind of planned since the beginning of time. And Terra could be one of those 6, which means there would be 5 others like that somewhere. Would be great news. Some people did some data mining, and why not? We'll see if it's all we can get on tinfoil.
All right. Does anybody else have any thoughts on Thera? Do they plan on moving out there? I know, Kudo, you're one of our resident industrialists, so we heard from Bach. Do you think you're going to move out there and start loading up the market?
I'll fly out there and check it out. I don't know. Yeah, that'd really be about it for starters. I love new content, so bring it.
I'm just thankful for the no more SP losses and having constantly keeping on top of which clone I've got.
All right. Well, yeah, that is actually something we didn't explicitly mention in any of our show notes, as far as I can tell, but that is something they announced coming in Rhea, I believe, is they're getting rid of the skill point, or the whole cloning system for now, and they're getting rid of the skill point loss of death, except if you're flying a T3. That's the skill, because they still want it to be meaningful to fly a T3 and to lose a T3, because they don't want roaming T3 gangs without, something on the line. So keep that in mind. But looking forward to Rhea, you won't have any issue where you're in an alpha clone and you forgot to upgrade and you got to go through 10 jumps of nullsec and avoid bubbles and camps and everything. So I think that is an awesome change, just from a user, or as a new player perspective and everything else. I mean, I think the clone system, once you understand it, you get it. But I feel like almost everybody at one point or another has that point where they accidentally forget to update their clone and they have that oh crap moment where are they going to die and lose skill points, or are they going to be able to get to the medical facility and fix that before it's running out of time? So anyways, let's go ahead and move on to some other Rhea news.
So a new dev blog about new exploration sites and new exploration modules. So it looks like sleepers have hidden stuff and weapon caches, but artifact caches all around Eve in any type of system, whether it's a wormhole, nullsec, lowsec, highsec. So we're going to open first the highsec portion of it, which is only for frigates. And it's going to be nice exploration sites that require both relic and data analyzers. And one of the great thing about them is it's a kind of random. There are going to be triggers. Things are not going to be always the same. You're going to have explosions, gas clouds. You can even die and get podded by that site. So that's pretty news. Looks like sleepers are really naughty when they don't want anybody to get their loots. And one of those loots is their famous glass cannon polarized guns. The guns that we talked last episode that have a bonus at damage and fitting and types of ammo that bring all your resistance to zeros. So it's a structure bashing gun because I don't think anybody's going to use it for anything else but structure bashing. So good and bad, and we'll see people exploding hilariously.
All right. And we always love that. Next is the something I'm really looking forward to. CCP Optimal dropped a blog on the new UI changes. Nothing new, I guess, as far as changes, just a new UI look. They're doing some blurred window functions. It's going to allow you to see through if you do use the transparency on your windows, you'll be able to see through it a little bit better. And they're doing some new icon sets, and their theory is that's going to help you navigate around a little bit quicker. They dropped it on Singularity right away. They want you to check it out, and they are looking forward to feedback because this is kind of a big deal, and they know it. So yeah, check it out. Look into it. I really like some of the stuff that they've posted so far. Everything's been so blocky for so long, so it's nice to see things rounded out a little bit. I'm excited.
So for the next news that you've all been sort of been waiting for, so CCP Rise on the official Eve forums went ahead and teased us with more info in regards to, or at least the initial info, in regards to the new moving ship, the Bowhead. Yes, the Bowhead. It looks like you're probably going to need to train a brand new skill, probably, or freighter. It is intended for specific niche high-sec transports and fitted insured ships, and this just now in. So new that I have not yet read it from the show notes. All right, we've added quite a bit of HP. Evidently, it's going to have HP in the shield category, so it will be a shield ship. And they have changed some velocity and agility stuff, blah, 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 boring, because that's all stuff, blah, blah, blah. So we're looking forward to seeing the ship. I don't know if it's still going to hold the particular the model that they kind of showed us at Eve Vegas, but we'll soon hopefully see.
And also our latest contestant in the nullsec games, so to speak, Phoebe Freeport Republic, has taken their first station system. After about a week or so following Phoebe, they were going back and forth with a non-station system, which would be kind of difficult to make a Freeport in. They went ahead and they have now taken their first station system, and that is CT8K-0, and that's in Ethereum Reach. Wow, I'm like 3 for 3 to this evening. And so it sounds like they captured it fairly easily, but they did have some struggles, so to speak, with figuring out standings and how that whole alliance POS management stuff works so that, the POS doesn't shoot friendlies. So they have little bumps in the road, but congrats to them for getting their first station system, and look forward to hearing more about their various endeavors.
So one article on Crossing Zebra website from our Logibro Dung Dinkle named Rock, Paper, Scissors, and I would change the title and adding with PL with a rocket launcher, and an article about the supercap and the I win button that they are. So in his article, it states that Phoebe was a nerf to capitals and basically a buff to supercaps. Because now that they can use all those jump gates, they're basically free to roam, and nobody's going to dunk on them because the only counter to a super cap is another super cap, and you're not going to see them. So Pierre is roaming and having fun with super caps. Yeah, good. And Bravy's running with the little rabbits.
My favorite funny thing is that I remember catching someone saying in local that, come on, Brave, bring your super cap fleet. And I'm like, dude, this is Brave. We don't have super caps. Are you out of your mind?
Hey, we have battleships. That's good.
We have battleships which get bombed to hell.
Yeah, just give us 6 months to a year to be able to fly, carriers well, and then we'll start working on the supers.
Anyways, moment of silence for a NC station egg because it's dead. Apparently, what's going on? Everybody's so bad at dropping eggs these days. Like the timing's off. I don't know. I read something about they didn't feed the egg properly, so it didn't grow overnight during downtime and didn't grow into a fine young station the next morning. There's reports all over the place right now. The thing is they put it out there, they dropped it, and apparently, congratulations to Brave Newbies, who is now important enough to cause a diplomatic incident. I maybe even heard reports that we had a certain CEO of ours that was involved in this, but that's we can neither confirm nor deny that actually happened.
Please, those are completely unconfirmed reports. I do not like.
I just heard
slanderous
random
claims on our podcast.
But our CEO also loves diplomatic incidents. So if you're pissed off, please direct all hate mail to him. Anyways, but yeah, check this out. There's some YouTube footage on the link we have here on the website, along with the Reddit comments. Welcome to the club, NC. I think you guys are like number 6 or 7 that have lost an egg. Congratulations.
So guys, see, the problem is that in the 90s, NC Dot never learned to play Tamagotchi. You know, those annoying little egg games that you attach to your keys? So they were really always bad. So their little Tamagotchi always died. And because they never learned how to take care of that little egg guy, this is what happens to their space station. So the moral of the story is save Tamagotchi, play. You'll be better for it in space. But with that said, on to more news. So, Lichtenstein Condor, our illustrious leader of the Brave Collective and the Hero Coalition, gave a fireside chat. Yes, a fireside chat. I wonder if he was like wearing like a smoking jacket. But he addressed the troops, talked to us about the past conflict, Pravi, and the current conflict with PL. And he answers all your questions on the next heartwarming episode, Rolling with Hero.
Breaking news, his mic was kind of garbage. Just FYI.
Okay. All right. I didn't want to say this, and I said it to you guys, but I'm going to do it right here, right now. Diplomatic incident number 2. I say we start a new collection, save up money, and buy Lichtenstein Condor a decent freaking mic. Because, oh my God, Lichtenstein, I love you, but you need a better mic. And who better to talk to you about that than podcasters? Because God knows we spent stupid amounts of money on microphones. But I'm done.
Not every podcaster, but yeah, it's better. So, in the other news, the brave front against the bad evil empire, PL. So, this week we had 2 big battles. The first one was U-Q VWD. So, we linked the battle report, which was nice. I'm going to make a small summary. So, it was a good fight. Both sides had a lot of time. We exchanged battleships. We killed their battleships. We killed our battleships. There was some shenanigans with micro jump drives and good maneuvering. That was fun. We lost a lot of money. They lost a lot of money. But at the end, Brave was beating hard the PL subcap. And they had pinned down all the capitals that were supporting it. So PL had to do one thing and one thing only. They just brought all their super caps, which is understandable. They didn't want to lose their shinies. And losing the shinies to the smallest kid on the playground, that's kind of bad for reputation. So yeah, they saved their capital fleet instead of leaving with a big black eye. And Brave had to evac the subcat because everybody knows it's not with freaking battleships you're going to do anything to real super cap fleet. But the geeky move from PL is that they shoot the IOB and get the system. And they claim victory. Sorry, dude. Bringing Titans to a fist fight, it's not having victory. Brave won the fight, whatever you claim.
Speaking of bringing Titans, later on in the week, or more recently, there was a battle for the system of BTAC-3QPD, also in Catch, of course, where Brave Newbies were fighting PL once again. There was a subcat fleet. Sounds like the numbers worked out to be about 14 bill versus 4 bill, where I guess Brave was mainly using E-War frigates.
So what happened is that Brave deployed the Dominic's doctrine with something like 60 Moluses. or 70 moluses. So they damped and they eward PL out of the field, and they basically did nothing. I was in Logi, and we were wondering if it was a problem with the server because we were not getting asked for reps. And when Logis don't rep, that's kind of weird.
And so a little further on down the road, as they were all fighting for the system BTAC 3, which is right next to VTAC 3, which is now right next to GETAC. And if you follow that chain, you get back to Hero Coalition's home base. So this is 3 jumps away from Hero's main system. So definitely had to have a big showing. And of course, PL had a big showing. They eventually decided to bring 14 Titans, but they, because Phoebe changes, they didn't jump them. They took gates. And when you try to move 14 Titans through gates, you can sometimes run into a few bubbles. And thanks to many suicide Hictor pilots, and Dictor pilots rather, we Brave were able to prevent the Titans from getting into system and prevent the iHub from getting attacked. Brave newbies killed the SBUs, put up their own, and PL mostly got evac'd. Shout out to the Moluses and the Dictor pilots on that. Later that evening, I got a ping from Hoos, of all people, on our back channel saying, hey, we need bubbles, we need bubbles, we need bubbles. And mind you, he was relaying some pings from somewhere else. He didn't personally need bubbles. So I log in, get in my Dictor pilot, start flying them over to GETAC. Get in fleet. They're already out, so I'm trying to follow up, quickly chase after them. Get into BTAC 3, and we're just sitting there, just waiting and waiting and waiting. And finally, it comes out that we are on guard waiting for PL to online their supers. And apparently, from my understanding, the way that worked is because we had so many Dictors online and they knew that we could bubble the SBUs and so forth fairly well, they didn't even log in their supers. So, with that said, PL and Brave have been having some interesting times in catch. And I think Lank is going to help us out and kind of do a rundown of what's going on.
So this is the quick and dirty because words. Brave is losing the score, but winning the narrative against the big bully PL. 29 billion versus 40 billion lost for Brave, as catch revenue is nothing compared to PL's 1/10 of 1/15. This week was the first serious SRP for Battleship for Brave. While PL has hasn't even SRP'd even one super gap. Brave is going slowly deplete their coffin. And for what? Not to be able to defend against the Russians and who will then streamerless. Looks like PL was paid to do their content for them.
Do you mean coffers?
Coffins.
Because I don't store my money in my coffin.
What are you talking about? I think it's the big thing now. Like I said, looks like PL was paid to do this current harassment because, well, money. Now Brave has to fight smart and basically has to bury PL in bubbles until they leave or quit the game or who knows when. Bringing us to the 2 initiatives of the week. All non-military assets have been evacuated, which includes Ket's Market. Box says sorry to all his customers. We're placing hundreds of bookmarks, thanks to for the shortcuts, by the way, guys, in a few systems to drop tens of bubbles, Dictors, and mobiles on all paths, Celestials, gates. So enjoy the slow-mo without tie-dye.
I believe the current maximum velocity of a super is approximately 40 meters per second. So enjoy that slow boat. This bubble brought to you by AIEU.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the big talk. I take no responsibility for what these idiots are about to say.
All right, and now, so the big talk this week, as we kind of talked about earlier, CSM-9 Summit minutes. These came out a few days ahead of schedule. The target was the 31st, as we talked about on one of the previous shows, and they were able to hit above the target just before. And unfortunately, Bach was a little upset by that. But we'll dig into. He harnessed that anger into reviewing every single line of the Summit minutes, and so he's kind of our expert on this. I read some of them. He went crazy and read all of them. I think all of us read a little bit, but I think he's just gone nuts. So Lank, I understand you're crying yourself to sleep after a few pages.
Oh, my eyes crossed because it's like, people, man, these guys can write. Can they ever write? Oh, Jesus Christ. Sum it up. But I digress.
Well, I think the danger is that if they try to summarize or be too short, people are going to think they're trying to cover up too much, and so they're not being.
Dude, these notes were already summations of reams and reams of paper. I wonder if they have like a stenographer there just busily like typing it all down. And but anyways, so instead of going ahead and reading you the entire list of things, and we'll be here till next freaking Thursday. Bach was nice enough to kind of sum it for us because thank you, Bach. So we've broken it down into 3 days. So who wants to take day number 1?
I think we should just chat about it, but.
Yeah, I mean, well, you can kind of keep this on here as kind of a bullet points of what to say. I don't think we need to really line by line. Kind of the big things where there's some third-party dev stuff going on. I'm sure Bach was very interested in that. Do you have any kind of specific things you want to bring up, Bach, about third-party sites and Crest and any of that stuff that you kind of caught your eye?
No, it's basically everything that we heard about, that the integrations, SSO, Crest, and VXML. So basically, it's everything that we known about and we're expecting. And they said that market data will be a serious endpoint. So that's very good for us. However, they want to do the market data, which is either real time or delayed in cache or only providing variable. It's just whatever they want to do, we'll be able to pull out data from everywhere. And that's the good part of it.
Think of some of the other topics they brought up is like, I guess they went ahead and mentioned that they're reworking some of their tools that they use internally to do a lot of the PVE content to kind of streamline that particular problem that, as we all know, the PVE content in Eve is, for lack of a better term, atrocious. So they're looking at ways of kind of speeding it up and actually building up the tools internally.
And speaking of tools, actually, they mentioned, and I think it was Corbex, and I have to go back in there to double check. They were looking at potentially, I stress, maybe opening up Jessica, which is kind of their rendering engine for making all the cool trailers and stuff like that, and more opening it up to the player base at large, kind of like Valve did with their Steam Works, or what is it, the Steam Workshop or whatever it's called. And I know Kuda, you'll be happy to know, I read one of the marketing meetings that they actually had plans to still hit a couple of trailers each year. I think it was like a minimum of 2, and then they're still trying to edit they're still trying to edit their workflow, because the rendering and creating all the graphics for a video trailer is very labor intensive. And so you can't necessarily get that in a 5 or 6 week production cycle. At the same time,
Right.
these aren't the releases of yesteryear where they were huge feature releases. It's not like you need to make a video for every single one. So I think
it's been a while now.
Yeah, so they
we've
said
done what,
in the
4 or
notes,
5 releases.
they're working on it. That's all I can say. I do know that CCP recently, I believe, lost their head of marketing. Was it the guy in San Francisco? I believe he stepped down. So that is worth noting. A couple other things regarding wealth I thought was kind of interesting. Approximately 20% of players hold almost 90% of all in-game ISK.
Are you stating that perhaps we are sitting on an oligarchy?
Are you a 20%er?
Are you a
Are you a
20%er?
20%er?
I'm several times 20%, and
So that's an interesting allocation of wealth there. And that has there ever been an announcement of how much actual in-game ISK is flowing around and how much is it actually converted into Plex? You sit there and stockpile, because 20% of say a million player population,
300,000
players own all that wealth. That's a lot of characters. I'll give it that.
No,
that's
that's
an
20% of 300,000. That's 60,000.
Wow. So 60,000 people.
Yeah. How many alts do they have?
How many alts? Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a really interesting one. Another thing that came out was also really interesting on the heels of Gamergate, which we won't go in there because I really don't want to get into it. Eve female population is only 4% of the player base in comparison to 10% in other MMOs. So that's an interesting bit of demographic information.
Well, and we kind of knew that. One thing I did find interesting in the notes themselves that they, I believe it was Aliaras mentioned, or was asking, does CCP have any plans to target more females or to try to dig into more why that number is what it is, and to try to market to get that number higher. And then CCP kind of said, while we would love to see that number get higher, we don't have any specific plans to try to target female demographics. And we just kind of, we're going to continue doing marketing the way we plan to do it, not necessarily the way we've done it, but the way we have planned. And if we gain more female players, good. But it sounds like they're not going to be trying to specifically target female players.
Yeah, interesting. Let's see what else is really interesting. And this is actually comes into play when it comes to the new player experience and the comment that came up that Life in Eve is too hard and too centered on third-party sites, which makes it really, really complex for newer players to get involved and kind of plan out what they're doing in game. So I guess they're possibly looking at adding more tools within the client itself, so people can go ahead and figure out skill queues and perhaps future ship fitting and such. I'd be honest with you guys, I would love to have a nothing against Fleet Up, but I would love to have an in-game Fleet Up kind of functionality so I can check up on all you losers to find out what you can fly and not having to go to another third-party site to find out what's going on. Because ultimately, whenever it comes to with newer players, getting them to get to these sites and installing them and dealing with them, it's very, very difficult, which also comes into the possible enabling of access of the in-game channels from a browser and even smartphone access to a lot of these things.
The guy who was supposed to do smartphones is gone. Right?
Personally, I would do what Blizzard did before, which is you open an API. Blizzard did it on World of Warcraft for the UI, and it was such a great success, all those add-ons. But for Eve, you create all those APIs, which are for web outside applications or cell phone applications, and you create a world outside the game, which is where the community lives. And I think that's the way to go. And
that's all they've done. That's all they've ever done. We've had those web applications. We've had those smartphone applications. Well, I mean, yeah, it would be nice to see some in-game, open that up in-game a little bit. But I know they won't do that.
They're not going to do things as good as people outside. We have very dedicated people doing websites and functions and exploiting it to the very last bit, all the functions that they deploy. For them, it's cheaper to simply open more Quest API and let outside developers just do wonders with it.
But I agree, and that's what I'm saying is open that API up in game. So therefore, so CCP, if they want to eliminate the reliance on third party sites, well, let some people start doing some stuff inside your game. Do some stuff inside your UI. Don't limit these people who are passionate about their development and what they're doing. Don't limit them to just outside the game. But that's all they're doing. So.
That's why they need to change the in-game browser with something which is more secure, which is compatible with the Create SSO and allow third parties to make a web interface on it. And they will have a great game very fast.
All right, so let's move on. Yeah, but let's move on to day 2 of these.
No. I have one point very important.
Oh, one more? Let's hear it.
Yeah, about the roadmap, the session roadmap that was completely NDA'd except Bolognese recipe from Steve Ronoken. Anybody tried that Bolognese recipe?
I have not, but generally I'm not a big fan of bolognese. I don't know. I just don't like bacon in my pasta.
Yeah, there's a lot of meat in that bolognese. That's kind of weird. So if one of our auditors ever tried that recipe and can give us some comment, it would be great. Thanks.
Also, all right, one more thing from day 1 that I'm interested in. They talked about the price of Plex, and they're not concerned and they're not going to manipulate it. They're not concerned. But they have once stated they did manipulate it when the economics doctor, and I forget his name, was there. But
Dr. EO.
I think it's, EO or AO. I think it was the shortened version of his name.
So, he didn't state how they did it, but they've played with it once. He gave a talk at FanFest. So I don't know how much, maybe that's why he's gone. But
no, but he said previously that they've manipulated it to a degree. They've injected Plex from banned accounts and so forth. But he was quick to point out that his benchmark, and I believe, it escapes me who it was, the CCPer who was now on the economics team, but they were saying, and they both were saying this actually, is that they don't care what Plex per ISK is. They care more about the overall economic effects of everything else around it. So they're not concerned about whether one Plex per gets you 1 billion ISK or one Plex gets you 500 million ISK. Obviously, they don't want rampant inflation like you see on the Chinese servers, but they definitely have said on multiple occasions they don't so much care about that ISK per Plex conversion rate as much as the overall economic impact of the Plex itself.
We'll see, and I think it'll go up, and I don't think they care because it doesn't really matter to them. But geez, hang on if you have to pay for an account that way.
But to get this thing moving along, because it's going to run late. Day 2.
The first problem was the stealth bombers, and basically right now, as they are not being nerfed, and you're going to have those glass cannons modules coming in, there's a big problem with factional warfare missioning and stealth bombers. And you can see stealth bombers doing 1100 DPS. It's kind of going to crazy land. We have to do something about it.
As a guy who used to fly level 4s in a bomber, I have to completely agree. I shouldn't be able to do level 4 missions in a bomber.
Additionally, CCP wants an active and bottom-up revenue in nullsec instead of a moon revenue, which is up to bottom revenue that defines the current nullsec, which is a good idea. They're still debating about occupancy versus no SOV, but they want people that use the land to make the money in the land, not simply put pulses and defend timers.
Yeah, so, when they say bottom up, what particularly, just besides just, running events?
It's the people making the money for the corp, not the corp making the money and distributing it to the people. Moongoo, it's something that a few people do. All the money goes to the corp, and after that it's distributed to the members through SRP or ships or whatever. That's up to bottom.
Shh, don't tell who's that. Shh.
Or it's reverse embezzlement. Also, you call it whatever you want.
Reverse embezzlement.
Yeah, they want the people that do whatever they're doing, whether it's ratting, fighting, exploration, whatever. They are the ones making the money, and the corp and the alliance gets a cut out of it. Yeah, for all activities.
So I know, yeah, and you touched a little bit about it. They brought up against the topic of occupancy SOV, and basically, being able to defend where you live, but if you don't live there, you can't defend it all that well. There was more talk about even more ship skinning, and evidently more future ship redesigns that are coming up down the pike.
Yeah, we need our pink Deimos. Yay!
I need a giant...
and they even mentioned dropping things into the what is it called now? The New Eden store? Is that what it's called now? Yeah. They talked about dropping stuff in there without much fanfare, just kind of putting it out and letting people just kind of just letting it be there and exist. So we'll see how that works.
That and the topic of the Alliance logo and commercialization. Who owns the right? Legally. When you submit a logo to CCP to be included into the game, it is their property. You give over rights for it. But what's an alliance to do when it comes to selling a shirt and having to get a cease and desist order from CCP? And I guess they discussed that and how to handle, how to deal with that from going on forward.
So they have a few changes on the CSM white paper, which is the paper that regulates the rules about the CSM and how it interact. They're modifying it because they remove the officer's position and the secretary position. And they put one new thing, which is very nice, is that if members are inactive for more than 3 months, they're going to be replaced by the next in line in the elections. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, and in the also the white paper, I think Cyan Kumitomo mentioned this is in the notes, is they want it to be a living document, and so that's kind of cool to have that. Moving right along to day 3, there was a lot of talk about POSes, and it was just kind of all over the place, but POSes, veteran player retention. Does anybody get details on exactly what they were how were they looking to increase their retention, or were they looking at specific initiatives?
Nothing direct or particular. I know there was the only thing that was pretty put in there about the injecting of a new quote unquote Jesus feature, which can mean almost anything, but just basically finding a way to keep older players engaged and interacting with the rest of the community. But beyond all that, I didn't get anything else specifically.
They're basically almost done with fixing all the small things. They're going to fix the big things, which are SOV, but SOV, the newer players don't care about SOV. It's mostly for the older players. So they're making a lot of new player experience and changes in UI, missions, and content, and we've seen some of it, but they need some big features. They need to be bold on things that they do. Otherwise, older players, they're just going to play skill queue online or log off and don't log for months. So
I like the part where they say that mining needs to be more shiny, as in more science fiction-y type.
If they could make a very good mini game with drilling or whatever, they could make something nice.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now, the only important thing I saw is that in the industry for day 3, they're talking about combining BPCs and make a global multi-run BPC from a lot of small ones. That would be great. We really need it. That's very important, especially with the multi-invention change that we made, which is half broken. We really need to be able to combine BPCs into a bigger number of runs. Yeah, so you have 20, 10 runs, and you make 200 runs.
Hey, and guys, guess what? Defender missiles might be going away. Woohoo!
What's that?
Or they might be reworked.
The useless missiles, the the auto-target defense missiles, which no one uses. No one uses.
Sarcastic, but yeah, exactly.
So they might be going away, or like Bach said, made into anti-bomb missiles. But I guess they're still up in the air about what to do with that.
I want anti-bomb. I want anti-bomb. I want something that shoots and explodes the bomb on contact with whatever is there. You want to have bombers? Just create those missiles that shoot bombs.
Well, and I don't know if you guys have anything else specifically you want to talk about. One thing, talking about all this, I realized that I don't think we ever talked about the fact of the whole mix-up, or not the mix-up, the change-up that came from CSM. We had Xander Fina move to. Oh, I know we mentioned some of that. But we had Xander Fina move to. He left Zebra Corp following some internal politicking and so forth, and then he's now in PL, and then we had Major J Silva leave PL to go to Goons or CFC. Then Major J Silva then dropped out of CSM, and Gorski Carr then became the newest CSM member. So I did want to clarify that, because I don't know if we ever mentioned that. For timing wise, though, all this happened prior to that mix up. So if you see any notes like that, Gorski Carr wasn't on the ballot yet, or rather, he wasn't on the CSM yet, not the ballot.
He was next in line in the single transfer of all vote. And that's what makes that STV system so great. You have one drop, you just take the next one. He has the votes. He was just outside and he gets inside. It's a bit bad for him because he's coming and CSM is done in 3 months. Yeah,
but he gets a lot of experience in working with CSM, so it may help him if he chooses to run again next year. But also, because of the CCP's new agile development cycle, he can quickly kind of get caught up and see what exactly is going on, and try to have a real impact without trying to get his head around 6 months of patches that are coming out.
There's one thing I want to talk about in day 3, the last one, which is the concept of Thunderdome. So they're talking about creating a kind of structure where you can organize your own tournaments or ship or smaller 5v5 or whatever rules you want to put in it, and create a kind of Thunderdome which is outside, and you have kind of consensual PvP. A lot of people are going to complain about it, but I think it's a good to have a tool like that, and it's going to be a tool that is going to be used by people wanting to make esport events. And part of it is about esport anyway, whatever the naysayers say.
Well, and this is all part of the dojo thing that CCP Veritas worked on before he left, right? Because that was about the same time-wise. And he put that information out, and I'm pretty sure it is either on CC or Duality. You'd have to check in the features and ideas threads. But I'm pretty sure he put it out there somewhere. But it's purely a prototype thing. It was by no means ready for the prime time by his own admission. But it was pretty cool in the fact that you could basically have this thing like a deployable that you could deploy somewhere in space. And people, once deployed, people could go to it and kill it if they wanted to cause problems on your little tournament, so to speak, and you had the choice to defend it. But conversely, everybody else would be in station when they went to to go into the tournament, they would, I think it was an instant teleport from the station to some arena area that was unprobable. And so you couldn't have people just coming in and attacking you. So it was a pretty cool concept that sort of preserves the sandbox in that people could still come in, attack the dojo thingy, or you'd have to defend it and so forth. But I think I digress for this week, and we'll go ahead and talk about the kill of the week.
Pew pew pew. The kill of the week. Take that, noob. Ha ha ha.
All right, kill the week. Kill the week's an interesting kill mail that we have found through our countless hours. Actually, this one hit us straight in the face. But we do dig through some kill mails. I like to look at them in my spare time. We'd love to hear them and get them from you guys. It can be an expensive fit or hilarious loss or something random because reasons. But anyways, this week's kill of the week is a 39 billion-esque freighter. This one time when I was in Junganashi, I decided to put these nano, what are those things called? Melted nano ribbons in my hold. Yep. And Stu, you did some math on this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I did back of the napkin math, but I looked it up in game. So these melted nano ribbons are 0.01 M3. So they're the smallest volume we can have in the game. So this guy had
counted for 22 billion ISK worth of his loss.
Yeah, he had 5,000 of them. So if you do quick math, that works out to 50 M3. Meters. So he could have moved this in a blockade runner. He could have moved this in a deep space transport. He could have moved it in just about anything. He could have moved it
in a rookie ship
if he wanted to, although that would probably been a hilarious kill mail too. Or he could have moved it in a Cova Ops that could align super fast, although that would also be a hilarious kill mail if they actually got caught. And yeah, so I mean that was 22 bill of this entire cost. Everything else was the total of, let's do some quick math, 17 bill minus the freighter cost, about a bill, so 16 bill. That's over half the value of this loss was in those melted nanoribs that he could have moved in just about any other ship in the game and been relatively safe, including like a blockade runner, which you can that is unscannable from cargo scanners. So, and he would have been pretty safe with that. Although,
but then you're still hauling tens of billions of this in your freighter, which is a no-no.
Absolutely.
Get an interceptor. It's impossible to stop it in ISEC, and you carry 90 cubic meter. Enjoy your 30 billion cargo.
Anyways, we have the killboard link on the website, and there's a little article over there on the Mittani. Oh, actually, that's zip. Never mind. But anyways, get us your guys' kill mails. We're looking for hilarious ones, awesome ones, funny ones, huge ones. Email them to podcast@capstable.net.
All right, and feedback this week. We're going to go back to our shout outs that we had. So shout out to Turbo for lighting out that Sino for me super late the night before Phoebe. Otherwise I would have been racing across the time and space trying to, get a Sino lit for, the clock struck midnight, so to speak. And then also a shout out to CSM Mike Azariah. And actually I'll go ahead and extend this out to all the CSM. A shout out to you for, sticking to what you guys said, and I guess I have to include CCP Lilo and everybody else in the background who I don't know by name, who worked on it from CCP Legal and so forth, who got the CSM minutes out in a relatively quick manner compared to previous years, who were very specific when they would have it out, and they had them out quickly. But I did want to give a super special shout out to friend of the show, Mike Azariah, who I think did a killer job. If you just read through the summit minutes, you see his name left and right on almost everything. And I would say 90% of his questions are good, solid questions that if any of us were there, we would ask, or even if we weren't there, we would ask ourselves a week later. And so he admits he put his foot in his mouth a few times, but I think all of us do that from time to time. Hey, just listen to me right now. So shout out to Mike Azariah.
Okay, my shout out is for Dunk Dinkle or Logi Bro, or friend of a show, and because he sent me a brave can opener, so I'm happy. I drink a few beers just to his name, and I give him also the kudos for joining the staff of Crossing Zebras. Yeah, just try to give them some new bro perspective. They are our frenemies, but still. And don't forget to take all their iskies, because Xander is spreading the love and all the PL coffers, not coffins, do their stuff. So take all the Iskies. Don't run away. Take all of it.
I'm going to give a shout out this week to 3 weeks of great camping. I was actually able to sneak away past 2 weekends and get out there and really enjoy the weather. We had a really nice autumn. And shout out to, I don't know if it's OPSEC or not, but we got a guy in our corp who actually made out to FanFest, but he's been working on some stuff and, throwing up passes where we need him and doing some cool stuff. So shout out to Eric. And yeah, thanks for doing what you're doing. It's nice to have somebody out here flying with me. Other than that, shout out to Stu wants me to give a shout out to the snow. Whatever, fuck snow. It's only snowed like twice, and I'm already over it.
So you sent us a picture where you told us you went in at was it you say 50 or 70? You went in on the day, and you came out at night, 5 o'clock or whatever, and there was snow blanketing everything. And I'm like, how can you live in a place like that where you don't even know what to dress like for the evening when you're going home?
Oh, you just always wear layers. Everything's layers and everything's like, you always wear like Solomon waterproof shoes everywhere you go. You plan for anything. But yeah, it was beautiful all weekend and went to work on Monday, drove in, it was sunny. It was like 47, 50 degrees. It was nice. It was warm actually for this time of year. And then everything just kind of went south. So yeah, winter's here. Winter's not coming anymore. Winter's here. So, yeah, that's it.
All right, and that is going to be our show for the week. Kuda, how can people get a hold of us?
Well, we can be found on iTunes and Stitcher and on our RSS feed. Our show notes can be found on our website at the World Wide Web at capstable.net. Our email address is podcast@capstable.net. We welcome your feedback. We want to hear your stories, anything, just anything, just topics, segments, ideas, throw it at us. Anything's appreciated.
Finally, we can be found on Twitter at capstable for the show, @_stupidgenius for myself, @Lanktheris for Lank, @Bach Collective for Bach, and @Kuda Timberline for Kuda. And if you'd like to follow that slacker Hoots, he's @AIE Hoots, otherwise known as Hooten von Putin. On behalf of Kuda, Lanktheris, Bach, and Hooten von Putin, this is Stupid Genius saying thanks for joining us on this episode of the Cap Stable Podcast. Explode hilarious, ladies and gentlemen, and have a great week.
Because I need to go.
Bring it, Southerns. What?
I totally forgot the first story was mine.
It sounds so much better when you say Hooten von Putin. I've never said it out loud.
Hooten von Putin.
Oh yeah, that mute button, what up?
That's good content.